Thank you all for joining us tonight. My name is Dave Bartholomew, and I am tonight's moderator. I'm the mayor of Circle Pines and the vice president of the North Metro Mayors Association. I'm pleased to introduce the candidates that are able to be with us tonight. We have Robert Marvin and Senator Chris Eaton with us tonight. A little background. The North Metro Mayors Association was created in 1987 as a nonpartisan organization advocating for issues and opportunities of importance to the Twin Cities North suburban citizens and cities. Our goal in sponsoring tonight's debate or legislative candidate forum for Senate District 40 is to provide citizens with an opportunity to learn about the candidates' ideas and positions on issues that we believe are important to the future of our North Metro communities. So we will start this out. We will have 4 prepared questions. Candidates will advise the topics, but not the specific questions until tonight. Responses will be in rotating order with set time limits on their answers. We will note these time limits are the maximums and not the minimums. We regret that we can't cover all issues of interest tonight due to time constraints, as we focus mostly here on city and state governance questions. We expect that there will be other forums where other issues will be able to be addressed. We're also going to be soliciting questions from the audience. We use as many of those questions as time permits, and we have a North Metro Mayor staff person here available to take your questions. Please write those questions on the note card and give them to Bob, who will then forward them to me. Questions will be addressed to each candidate, so please refrain from asking for response from specific candidates. And with that, we're going to start with our opening statements. There's a 2-minute maximum on this, and we'll start with Robert Marvin.
Hi, my name is Robert Marvin, and I'm running for Senate here in Senate District 40, which is Brooklyn Center, Brooklyn Park, on Brooklyn Park South 85th Avenue. And I'd like to thank the moderator, Dave Bartholomew, and the North Metro Mayors Association, and all the guests here today, also the people online watching. I've been living in Brooklyn Center now for over 20 years. My mom, she's been here for, I think since 30 years, yeah, and so a little bit longer. And I got 3 boys we raised here. They all went to school locally. I'm a small business owner. I'm an electrical engineer. I got my BSE degree at NDSU, and I'm a professional engineer. And one of the reasons I'm running is because I feel that we need people that represent this community better, and we need to work on a variety of issues that we'll talk about later. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Chris Eaton.
Hi, I'm your Senator Chris Eaton, and I have been so since you elected me in 2011 when we lost my dear friend and our Senator Linda Scheid. Linda Scheid encouraged my candidacy and said she thought I'd be phenomenal, and I've tried to live up to that. I want to begin by reminding all of you that you can begin your excuse-free voting as of tomorrow. Brooklyn Center, you go to the City Hall here. In Brooklyn Park, you go to the water treatment plant. The core of my campaign and my service in the Senate is social justice in healthcare, economics, education, employment, and in the criminal justice system. I've passed many bipartisan bills and try to work across the aisle. I was the Senate author of the Community Solar Bill and tax breaks for renewable energy. In the tax committee, I worked for increases in the local government aid to keep our property taxes down. Next year, I want to get the tax bill that the governor vetoed due to the $100,000 error passed immediately. I'm hoping we can do that right away in January. And we also need to get the bonding bill passed and a comprehensive transportation bill. I would like to find some relief for small businesses between the Affordable Care Act, insurance requirements, increases in the minimum wage, and the demand for paid sick leave and family leave. Many are understandably overwhelmed, and I will listen to their concerns, and together we'll find some solutions. My door is always open, and I encourage you to contact me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to both of you. And now we're going to move into the prepared questions we have, and we're going to go back and forth in order. There's a 2-minute time limit on the response, And then there's an opportunity, if the other person should want, to do a rebuttal with the 45-second time limit. So our first question, we'll start with Chris Eaton, and the first question is, what are the top 3 issues you hear while campaigning? And if elected, what will you do to ensure that the 2017 Senate and House members work in a collaborative way with the governor and the community to address those issues?
Thank you. Mostly I hear people want their property tax down, and they want more options for seniors. And I do hear a lot about the transportation and the gas tax. Education is a big issue. I guess that's 4, sorry. I work pretty well across the aisle when I can. In fact, at the present time, in order to get a bill through, I need a Republican in the House to carry it. So I've got to know quite a few of them. I think the biggest thing we need to do is cut down on these omnibus bills. I would really like to see my legislation go on its own through the system rather than be tucked into some bill where somebody else decides if it should be in the bill in the end or not. I find that kind of frustrating. And I think it defeats the democratic process. So that's what I will be working toward in my caucus. And we do have a purple caucus too that I've been to a couple times with Senator Jeremy Miller. And he and Senator Roger Reinhardt have worked pretty hard to bring the 2 parties together in the Senate. I do not believe there is one in the House.
Thank you. And Robert, would you like to rebuttal, or would you just like to do your answer?
I'll just do my answer.
Okay,
And
sure.
so how many, we have a minute?
Yeah,
Or?
2 minutes on this, and it's the top 3 issues you hear while campaigning, and if elected, how would you work with the other House and Senate members in a collaborative way?
Okay, well, the biggest issue I hear about, obviously, property taxes in Brooklyn Center is a big issue here. Brooklyn Center has one of the highest property taxes in the entire state, and debatably the highest taxes in Brooklyn Center, or not Brooklyn Center, sorry, in Hennepin County. And if you're interested, if you're not in agreement on that, I could show you. But in the case of, sounds like some of the people in the audience here don't believe that. But Brooklyn Center has a 11.5% higher property tax rate than Minneapolis, which is considered one of the highest in the state. And then Brooklyn Park is also a fairly high tax rate as well. And then as far as Brooklyn Center right here locally, we have the lowest average house value. So it's an issue for people here that their property value is so low. And the other things that we hear about a lot are the Southwest Light Rail and how the bonding bill wasn't passed, and this 7-person letter that was signed by my opponent, and that comes up all the time. And then education's a big issue too, unfortunately. That's a good, I mean, it's not unfortunately, but it's a good issue. And so, and as far as working across the aisle, I'm into talking to basically anybody, you know, Mike Nelson or whoever, and you know, Deb Hillstrom. I talk to everybody, so I'm willing to work with anybody. I'm not a highly partisan person. We don't have, you know, everybody that's, you know, Republican endorsed candidates here in town, and well, I'm an endorsed candidate, but it's I try to work with everybody and try to get along. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to do a rebuttal? Go on to the next question.
Next question.
Okay, the next question, which we'll have Robert answer first, is, if elected, which committees would you seek to serve on and why?
Well, I printed that out here. Unfortunately, I don't seem to have it sitting here. I had the printout of the committees. I know there's 19 committees. As I recall, the printout for the committees has 220 spaces filled by people. There's 67 senators. I noticed that one of the things I think about committees is, realistically, I think that you want to be on committees that you're the most interested in, the things that you kind of have the most interest in. And one of the things I'm the most interested in is probably having to do with capital and with large projects and so forth. So I think it's called the capital or the I'm not sure what it's called, but it's in the upper right-hand corner of that sheet, whatever that is, I forget. And then another thing I'm interested in is higher education. My wife and I are really big on universities and schools and so forth, and trying to promote that. And I think I would agree a little bit with Senator Eaton being on. She's on. One of the things I guess she's on is two of them that she's on is the tax committees, and I guess that's something that's close to her heart about taxes. And then the other thing is, I think I also would be interested in the committee that has to do with elections, which is I think it's a subcommittee. Thank you.
Okay. Just to do a rebuttal or just go into your...
No, I'll do my response.
Okay, so if elected, which committees would you seek to serve on and why?
I would stay on the Health and Human Services Committee. I am a registered nurse in my other life, and there's a lot of issues that are important to me from mental health standpoint. I worked over 35 years in mental health, and addiction and recovery. Let's see, I'd also stay on the local government, state and local government committee. I am a former 35-year state employee, and I find that real interesting. I like being on the subcommittee on employee relations, because that gives me the opportunity to help on the contracts for our unions. And I'm on the, in the environment committee. I'm very strong on the environment. I believe we need renewable energy. As we're seeing with our oil, it's either crashing in trains or it's pouring out of pipes under the ground and polluting everywhere. We need to find an alternative to fossil fuels. I am on the tax committee. I've worked hard to make sure that we got a decent local government aid for our community, and that the small businesses get a little bit of a break. I've been trying to work with Senator Ann Rest to get streamline the tax process a bit. It doesn't need to be as complicated as it is. So that would be a focus of mine. I think that's all I have to say.
Okay. And Robert, would you like to do a rebuttal, or should we move on to the next question?
Next question.
Okay. The next question starts with you, Senator Eaton, and that is, both parties agree that increased funding is needed for road and transit system improvements. How would you propose those funds be raised?
Gas tax. Increase the gas tax by at least $0.10 a gallon. And there's some talk about that maybe we need to look at some kind of a user fee for people who have automobiles that don't use gas, that maybe put on there when they purchase one of those. But the problem is our cars are getting better mileage, and we're not bringing in enough money. And there's a lot of infrastructure that needs work on. And there's more cars on the road. I dread it every day when I have to drive to St. Paul and back. It's the congestion's unbelievable, and there's only going to be more in the coming years. So.
Okay. Thank you. And Robert, would you like to do a rebuttal or just do your 2-minute answer?
What was the question again?
The question is, both parties agree that increased funding is needed for road and transit system improvements. How would you propose those funds be raised?
Well, for me, I know this is a big issue. I know when you talk to a lot of the candidates all over the state, is that bonding is one of the big things about roads and bridges. So that was supposed to be something that was moved forward, and it wasn't moved forward this time around. As far as raising taxes for additional stuff, we have all kinds of taxes in place. It could be that there's issues that we don't have enough funding for, but we already have gas taxes. We've already got lots of various funding that's in place, and I guess unless there's a real good reason for it, I'm not necessarily inclined to just raise taxes just because.
Okay.
Thanks.
Would you like to do a rebuttal to that?
Could I?
Sure, certainly.
I would just like to add that the reason we didn't get a bonding bill is because the House didn't present one until 2 days before the end of the session, and that was the Republicans in the House, and most of us never got to read it. But we did actually pass a version of it and get it back to the House, but the speaker chose to not hear it, to not see it. So it's that last minute stuff that comes with all those big omnibus bills that I'm hoping that we can cut through.
Okay.
Can I get a rebuttal on that one?
No, you only get one rebuttal back, so.
I didn't have a rebuttal.
Okay, well, okay, go ahead.
Okay, anyway, one of the things about that omnibus bill, and that's one of the big things that almost all, even the Democrat candidates keep talking about, is this letter that was signed by seven candidates. And, you know, even the Democrats, especially the ones outstate, point to this as being outrageous that the Democrats in the Twin Cities did this, and Chris Eaton's one of the 7 who signed it. They always talk about this being the Latz letter, you know, but if you watch a lot of the forums, even the Democrats are, you know, pointing to this thing as being the reason why we didn't have our bonding bill, is because they hijacked it last minute for Southwest Light Rail. The Democrats brag about how both parties brought forward these bipartisan bills, and they were working together, and they had it all lined up, and then it kind of all fell apart, and so now we don't have a bonding bill for our roads and bridges, and it's an issue, and they're probably going to have a special session for it, so they're going to have to work on that in the future probably.
Okay. Our last question then is, we'll start with Robert and then go to Chris. You can expect 3,500 bills next session. Each one is important to someone. When it comes to fiscal policy discussions and priority setting, how would you represent and advocate for your district?
Well, I heard last time there was 4,000 bills, so I imagine this is just how it kind of goes, and I'm not sure exactly how the process works. I think a lot of bills don't actually go to the floor for a vote. I think they go through committees and so forth, and sometimes they don't even make it to the full floor. And I think part of the reason why you have these 19 committees is to deal with some of that stuff. I don't know. I haven't been a senator, so I'm not familiar with exactly the dirty details of exactly how you go through 3,500 bills. But I understand the 3,500 bills are important to somebody, but my job would be to represent the people here in Brooklyn Center and Brooklyn Park. And I'm looking out for, you know, businesses, I'm looking out for the people, looking out for property values, looking out for the people who live here. And I know that these bills are important to somebody, but not necessarily important to the people in Brooklyn Center and Brooklyn Park. And we're not all about just passing stuff because, so I would be always looking at it through the view of whether or not Brooklyn Center and Brooklyn Park residents benefit from this stuff. Thank you.
Would you like to rebuttal, or just want to go to your answer?
I'll just go to my answer.
Okay. You can expect 3,500 bills next session. How would you represent and advocate for your district?
Well, I just want to start with Minnesota is heading in the right direction. We've added resources to local governments, education, mental health, addiction, renewable energy, along with funding for employment opportunities and housing. We still need to work on transportation and our aging infrastructure. But our rainy day fund has $1.6 billion in it, and we have $900 million surplus currently. We have the resources if we work together as one Minnesota, not a rural against metro and so on. So the bills that come through, I like to look at how they would impact the entire state. It isn't helpful if you have a bill that is advantageous to, say, down in Rochester, but it puts people out of work and closes businesses up on the range. I mean, we have to work together and make sure there's no unintended consequences. And it's very complicated sometimes. On the tax committee, there's layers upon layers upon layers of different things that are affected by each piece of the tax code. And it gets very, very complicated that you can inadvertently do some serious damage if you don't pay attention. So I like to concentrate on social justice issues and making sure that our fiscal policy takes care of those who don't have a voice or don't have as big a voice and can't speak for themselves. And I feel that there's plenty of people supporting the corporate world. I'm more into the small businesses and helping people start and make them successful.
Thank you. Would you like a 45-second rebuttal, or should we move on to the next?
Well, one of the things, when I'm always talking to people about running for Senate, I always point back to what we've got going on right here, and kind of an example of, if what we've got going on here, do we want to have this be how the whole state runs or not? And here, you know, basically raising taxes at every chance we have, and just, you know, every tax that comes along being raised, and having the highest taxes in the city, and having lowest property values and stuff. These are things that we don't really want to spread. We want to work on making things better for everybody here in the state of Minnesota. I'm actually getting close to my time for the first time, almost coming to my time. So we want to make things better for everybody. So, and we got to work on it with everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure if we have any questions from the audience. If you have them, we can turn them in here. Do we have any questions you want to bring forth? Okay. Okay. Well, then, if there are none, we're going to go moving into our closing statements.
Nobody has any questions?
Nope, nobody had any questions.
Because we're supposed to have like 40 minutes? No?
No questions have come forward out there, so what we're gonna do now is do a closing statement. That's gonna be in the reverse order of the opening statement. So first, we'll have Senator Eaton, and this is a 60-second, kind of a 1-minute closing statement for tonight.
Thank you. I want to thank the North Metro Mayors Association for putting this together. I would just like to say that when it comes to taxes, the taxes we raised were on the top 1%. And Governor Dayton said he would do that when he was running for office. So it shouldn't have come as any surprise to anybody. If you're a upper to middle income and below, you didn't pay any extra taxes, unless it was in property taxes, because we didn't get the tax bill through. But hopefully, that won't happen. I would like to ask for your vote. I have enjoyed representing you for the last 5 years, and I would like another 4 years to be your senator. So I thank you.
Thank you very much. And Robert.
Hi, again, my name is Rob Marvin. I want to thank Dave and Chris Eaton for attending this forum. I was expecting a lot of questions. I was prepared for all sorts of questions, but because I was under the impression it ran for 40 minutes. And one of the things, I guess, my wife wasn't able to come to this, but she wanted to be here. I'm running for Senate because I care about the people here in the community, and I'm trying to make things better. I don't feel that we're being adequately represented, and I think that everybody pretty much understands that we got issues with taxes and with property values and so forth, and we need to try to make things better for everybody. And we also we need to quit doing crazy stuff and blocking our bonding for roads and bridges and so forth for boondoggles like light rail. So that's what I'm looking to represent everybody here in Brooklyn Center, Brooklyn Park, and that's why I'm running. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We'd like to say thank you to both of our candidates, to the audience out there, both here and watching on television, to the cable TV staff, and to the City of Brooklyn Center for hosting our event tonight. With that, we're wrapping up our State Senate event, and now we're going to take a minute or two, reshuffle, and do our State House candidate event. So thank you again. Hang in there. We'll be right back with you. Thank you for joining us again tonight. My name is Dave Bartholomew. I'm tonight's moderator. I'm the mayor of Circle Pines and vice president of the North Metro Mayors Association. I'm pleased to introduce the candidates we have here with us tonight, Representative Michael Nelson and Representative Deborah Hillstrom. This is put on by the North Metro Mayors Association, which was created in 1987 as a nonpartisan organization advocating for issues and opportunities of importance to the Twin Cities North Suburban area citizens. Our goal in sponsoring tonight's legislative candidate forum for Senate District 40 is to provide citizens with an opportunity to learn about the candidates' ideas and positions that we believe are important to the future of our communities. In the cases where one of the candidates is unopposed, or if the candidate for a specific seat cannot attend, we'll offer the opposing candidates that are here tonight the opportunity to address the audience. For tonight's forum, Representative Michael Nelson is unopposed, and candidate Molly Marvin, who is running against Representative Deb Hillstrom, cannot attend due to business travel. Thus, Representative Nelson and Representative Hillstrom will have the opportunity to speak, and we ask candidates to keep it positive without referencing the absent opponent. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes, and so we're going to start with Representative Michael Nelson.
Thank you, and hello, my name is Michael Nelson. I want to thank the North Metro Mayors for holding this forum, and I want to thank the residents of Brooklyn Park for allowing me the honor and privilege of serving them in the Minnesota House of Representatives. This is my home. I have lived in Brooklyn Park and Brooklyn Center most of my life. I grew up here, graduated from Park Center High School and Hennepin Technical College. I participated with my sons in the Brooklyn Park youth sports and served as a local Boy Scout leader. I have also been an active member of my Carpenters Local, serving in many leadership positions. In the legislature in the past, I have served on many committees, including the Transportation Committee, Commerce, Environment, Government Operations, and Elections. As the lead on the Government Operations and Elections Committee, I worked across the aisle to pass common sense election reforms to save money for both our local governments while making it easier for citizens to vote. The integrity and ease of our election system is paramount for our maintaining the trust in our government at all levels. I will continue to work on these and other issues that are important to all of us, including good jobs that pay livable wages so we can take care of our families, good public schools to provide our children and grandchildren a quality education that prepares them to become contributing citizens to our society, public safety so we all feel safe in our homes and our community, and a transportation that that includes both good roads and a comprehensive public transit system that allows all residents the ability to get to work, to play, shopping, and all the other things that make up our busy lives. None of these issues are easy, but together we can come up with solutions that work for all of us. Again, I want to thank all of you in the past for your support, and I ask for your vote on November 8th.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Representative Deborah Hillstrom.
Thank you. I'm State Representative Deborah Hillstrom. I'm honored to be able to participate here tonight, and I'm honored to represent the residents of Brooklyn Center and Brooklyn Park in the Minnesota House of Representatives. It has been an honor. I started here in the Brooklyn Center, on the Brooklyn Center City Council, right here in this chamber, in politics. I served on the City Council for 6 years. Prior to that, I served on the Planning Commission. So this is where I come from. I was born and raised here in Brooklyn Center. I went to Garden City Elementary School and Northview Junior High and Park Center High School. My husband and I, Joel, have raised our family here. It has been an incredible experience. We have accomplished so much in my time at the legislature, but there is still so much to do. I am asking for your support to go back to the Capitol to continue to work on issues important to our area. One of the things that happens at the legislature is people become more and more partisan. But we have found the ability to work across the aisle to get things accomplished for our communities. We work on issues like transportation, and we actually deliver for our community. The transit hub here was a bipartisan proposal that allowed Brooklyn Center to have a transit hub. We work bipartisanly on higher education. You see that with North Hennepin Community College, North Hennepin Technical College. We work bipartisanly on issues such as taxes. Even though this year there wasn't a tax bill, it was a tax bill that most people could vote for. It just got caught up in the other issues. Now, I was one of the people that was speaking against the bonding bill this year. The reason I was speaking against the bonding bill was because they took out our proposals. So at a time of economic prosperity and growth, we need to make sure that our area isn't left behind. They literally picked projects that were of lower priorities than our community colleges. They kicked our project out of the bill and put other people's in. It's our job to fight for the issues that are important to the community. And I've heard from so many of you about making sure our schools are good for our kids, that higher education is affordable, that people have access to good jobs, and that our property taxes don't get too high. When the state doesn't pay their fair share, we pay for it in our local property taxes. That's when you see school levies going, that's when you see increases in property taxes. When the state stops giving local government aid and paying for transportation and paying for the things we need as a community, we end up having to pay more. We have a low property tax base in our community. We used to have Brookdale Mall, we don't have that anymore. And so when businesses are not prospering, our residents have to pay more unless the state pays their fair share. So I ask for your vote to go back to the Capitol to make certain that we have a voice, a strong voice, to fight for you to make sure that Brooklyn Center and Brooklyn Park prosper as the rest of the state is doing. I ask for your vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So we'd like to say thank you to both of our candidates, to the audience, to the cable TV staff that helped put this together, and the City of Brooklyn Center for hosting tonight's event. So thank you very much, and remember to vote on November 8th.